He only asked for a cup of tea, but they placed a gun in his hands because they forgot who he was. They say memory fades with time, that people forget, that even names, once spoken with fear or respect, are eventually reduced to echoes. I believe that. I wanted to believe that. For 10 years, I lived as a ghost in a world I once bled to protect. No titles, no uniforms. Just a man with trembling hands and quiet eyes, sweeping dust off his porch and boiling water for tea. My name didn't matter anymore. My past had been buried deep under layers of silence, guilt, and graves. But sometimes, the world doesn't let you rest. Sometimes, it knocks softly, wearing the face of a boy with too much pride and no idea who he's speaking to. The sun hadn't risen yet when I walked into the corner tea stall. Just a small metal shack with rusted tables, steam hissing from the kettle, and flies dancing over stale bread. A place where no one asked questions. I liked it that way. I took my seat in the far corner, near the cracked mirror where the light flickered every few seconds. The owner, Bashir, was wiping cups with his back to me. He didn't see me come in. A group of young men, probably local hired guns trying to act like royalty, occupied the table beside mine. Leather jackets, loud laughter, and dead eyes. I kept my head low. "Chai," I said quietly when Bashir finally noticed me. He turned. His eyes widened slightly. Recognition. Respect. But then, fear. He nodded once and vanished inside. "Look at this one of the boys muttered behind me. "Old man wants tea. You think he can pay for it with stories?" The others chuckled. One leaned in closer, his boot scraping against the leg of my table. I didn't move. I didn't look up. 10 years ago, I would have broken his wrist just for breathing near me like that. But I wasn't that man anymore. I was trying. Bashir returned with the tea. His hands trembled. "On the house, Haji Sahab," he whispered. But before I could even reach for it, the boy next to me swiped the cup and poured it out on the ground. "Oops," he smirked. Slipped. The silence after that was thick. The other boys leaned forward, waiting. They didn't know they'd already made a mistake. I looked at the spilt tea, the steaming stain on the ground. Then slowly, I stood up, and everything I had buried inside me started to breathe again. You don't spend 23 years doing what I did and just walk away. I served without a name. No rank, no records. Operated where governments don't admit they operate. They called us shadows. Ghosts. We didn't fight for medals. We fought for things most people don't even know were ever at stake. And when we were no longer useful, we were erased. The day I disappeared from that world, I made a vow. No more violence. No more blood. I buried my dog tags, burned my files, and moved to this nameless little town far from everything. But peace is a strange thing. When you have too much of it, the demons start knocking from inside. And when someone breaks it from the outside, you either stay silent or you remind them why silence surrounded your name. "Old man, you deaf or just stupid?" The leader of the group snarled now, stepping in front of me. He reeked of cheap cologne and cheaper power. "I asked you something." I looked him in the eye. Just for a second. He flinched. That was the first crack. "You want to die over a cup of tea?" he challenged. I didn't answer. He slapped me. Hard. The room went silent. Bashir gasped. The kettle hissed louder than before. A small child eating bread at the back of the shop dropped his glass. The taste of blood touched my tongue. I turned my face slowly back toward him. And I smiled. "You're not the first to try," I said, quietly. He laughed. But something in his eyes shifted. "Leave him alone, Adil," Bashir pleaded. "You don't know who he is." Adil. That was the boy's name. And now, it was on my list. The gun came later that night. Not in a box. Not with ceremony. It was tossed through my window. Wrapped in a dirty cloth. A message. Time to remind you who runs this place now. They didn't know the irony. I picked it up. It was an old TT pistol. Rusted. One bullet inside. It felt heavier than I remembered. Not because of the metal, but because of what it meant. I'd spent a decade building a life where I didn't have to hold one of these again. And now, it was back, placed in my hands. Because they forgot who I was. There's a strange stillness before the storm. Not outside. Inside. Like the silence in your breath before the trigger is pulled. Like the moment your soul closes its eyes and prepares to return to what it once was. When I held that pistol in my hand, I didn't feel rage. I didn't feel fear. I felt remorse. Not for what I was about to do, but for the boy who thought this would scare me. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the floor, back against the wall, staring at the gun on the table. The single bullet shimmered like an old memory, dull, quiet, but deadly. The room was dark, except for the flicker of a candle that threw long shadows across the wooden floor. At 4:12 a.m., I stood. The tea stall was still closed when I walked past it. I didn't stop. I didn't look. I knew Bashir was awake. Watching. By 5 a.m., I stood in front of a rusted green gate on the edge of town. 3 knocks. A girl's voice behind the metal. "Who is it?" I said nothing. The gate creaked open slowly. A girl in her late 20s, tired eyes, tangled hair, strong posture. Her name was Hina. She froze when she saw me. "Uncle?" I nodded. Her face changed. The mask slipped. She opened the gate wider. "I thought you were dead." I stepped in, wordless. She led me to the back. The courtyard had an old bench and a punching bag, torn, unused. Vines climbed the cracked walls. "I kept it just like you left it," she whispered. I sat on the bench. She sat beside me, unsure. "You still have the key?" I asked. She hesitated, then nodded. She walked inside, opened a cupboard, and brought out a small wooden box. She placed it in my hands. "I never looked inside," she said. I believed her. Inside were 2 items: a folded cloth with an old military patch sewn into it, and a black book, locked. I placed the pistol beside it. She stared at it for a long time. "You're going back?" I didn't answer. "They don't know, do they?" "No. They will." It wasn't always like this. There was a time I stood beside men who'd walk into fire with no hesitation. We weren't soldiers, we were shadows. Off the books. Denied by governments. Sent in when things needed to be erased, quietly. Operation Blackbird was our last mission. We were told it would be quick. Extraction. High-value target. No resistance. We were lied to. I lost 7 men that night. Burned alive. Shot in the back. Screaming into radios that had already gone silent. I carried 3 bodies out myself, 2 of them missing faces. The target? A civilian girl, maybe 14, who had seen something she wasn't supposed to. She begged us not to take her. I let her go. They demoted me. Tried to court-martial me. But someone upstairs pulled the plug. Sealed the file. Gave me a choice. Disappear. Or die. I disappeared. But some ghosts don't stay buried. Back in town, Adil thought he had won. He swaggered around with his boys, collecting bribes from shopkeepers, flashing knives at traffic cops. His father was a small-time politician, enough protection to make him feel invincible. What he didn't know was that one of his own had just called me Zishan, a quiet boy. Skinny. The one who didn't laugh during the tea stall incident. The only one who looked afraid. He found me that afternoon. "Sir," he stammered. I didn't know who you were. I didn't say anything. He placed a phone in my hand. A video. The inside of a warehouse. Adil and his crew. Guns. Cash. A girl tied to a chair. Crying. I paused the video. Where is this? I asked. He told me. I returned the phone. Go home, I said. You were never here. He looked like he wanted to say more, but he didn't. Smart boy. That night, I went to the warehouse. Not with a gun. Not with backup. Just a crowbar, a rope, and a name they had forgotten. I took out the lights first, then the tires of their cars, then the two men standing outside, one with a cigarette, the other on his phone. They didn't even scream. Inside, there were four more. I moved through the shadows like water. Quiet. Fast. The last one I left alive. Just long enough to whisper something into his ear. By the time the police came the next morning, the girl had been untied, every stash of cash and drugs had been burned, and a single line was carved into the floor. Remembered WHOIM. Adil panicked. He called his father. He called his police contacts. But none of them knew who had done it. Then he got the message. A torn piece of cloth. A military patch. Delivered to his car dashboard. By morning, his men were scattering like flies. But it was too late. The beast had already woken. And now, I wasn't stopping. I had spent 10 years trying to forget the man I used to be. But now, they were remembering him for me. It wasn't just Adil anymore. The city had changed since I vanished. The crime had roots now. Deep ones. Adil was a twig. I was after the tree. And I didn't care if I had to burn the entire forest to get to the roots. I knew Adil would run. But cowards don't run alone. They call for backup. 2 nights after the warehouse raid, a man came looking for me. Not a boy. Not a street thug. Professional. His name was Rafiq. I remembered him from a lifetime ago. Afghan operations, border blackouts, body after body in snow-covered valleys. He'd vanished with a kill count and a fat payout. He didn't work for coins. He worked for silence. I found his note under my door. No threats. Just a name scribbled in Urdu. You should have stayed dead. And underneath it, a time. A place. It was bait. I swallowed it whole. 5 p.m. Abandoned amusement park. Rusted rides. Broken laughter echoing in the wind. I walked in wearing my old boots. Same ones I had on during Operation Blackbird. I saw him before he saw me. Rafiq. Thick beard. Hollow eyes. Long coat. A rifle on his back, but it wasn't drawn. He was standing at the center, arms folded, smirking. You always were dramatic, he said. You always were, rat, I replied. He laughed. Genuinely. You scared them. They thought you were some retired cook. Turns out you were the fire. I came alone, I said. So should you. He nodded. Then whistled. From the shadows, 4 men emerged. Tactical gear. Gloves. Eyes that had seen war. So, he didn't come alone. I smiled anyway. You forgot, I said softly. I trained you. It lasted 13 seconds. The first man moved right, predictable. I ducked low, swept his legs, drove my elbow into his throat. He went down gasping. The second came fast, blade in hand. I caught his wrist, dislocated the joint, spun him into the carousel pole, and knocked him out cold with one hit. The third was smart, kept distance, drew a gun. But I was already behind him. One twist. One crack. Lights out. The fourth ran. Smartest of them all. Rafiq just watched. When I turned back to him, he wasn't smirking anymore. You're not here for Adil, he said. Are you? I stepped closer. No. Then who? I didn't answer. He nodded slowly. Then reached into his coat. I tensed. But he pulled out a file. Tossed it to the ground. Names, he said. Places. The real men behind Adil's arrogance. You take them out, and you'll feel like yourself again. Why help me? Because I owe you. and because they tried to hire me too. I picked up the file, flipped through the pages. Photos, maps, bank accounts, politicians, judges. The rot was deeper than I thought. That night, I returned to Hina's home. She was on the rooftop, watering plants. I placed the file on the table. I need your help, I said. She looked at me. Long, hard. Then she sat. You're going back to war. It never ended. She nodded slowly. Then opened the file. You're going after Tarek? I froze. You know him? She looked down. He's my fans. Silence. Was, she corrected. How deep is he? Deep enough to make Adil look like a puppy. My jaw clenched. Hina met my eyes. I'll help you. But if I'm doing this, we're not going quiet. We started with the bank. Tarek had a stash house where he funneled dirty money through charity fronts. I walked in during the Friday prayer break. No security. I left a gift on the manager's desk. A bullet, wrapped in a child's hospital bill stamped rejected. An hour later, every bank employee evacuated the building. No reason given. The same night, the entire stash was wired to an orphanage fund across the border. I left no trace. Only a message. The dead don't need money. The living do. I expected retaliation. It came fast. 2 cars. Masked men. They tried to grab Hina from outside her workplace. Bad move. She was already carrying. She shot the front tire. The second bullet went through the driver's arm. I arrived seconds later, as one tried to limp away. I grabbed him by the collar. Tell Tarek, I growled. This is me being merciful. Then I dragged him to the police station and dumped him at the front steps. I didn't leave a name. I didn't have to. By now, whispers had begun. Some said I was dead. Some said I was never real. Some said I was the government's devil they unleashed when things got out of hand. I didn't correct them. I just lit another match. There's a code men like me live by. It's not written. It's carved into skin, into soul, into the choices we make in the dark when no one's watching. Never betray your own. Never turn your back on the one who bled beside you. And never, ever, sell your silence. But every code breaks. When the price is right. The first sign came in the form of silence. Zishan had been updating me every 2 days. Telling me who was moving, where money was shifting, which of Adil's old men were still loyal to Tarek. Then, nothing. No texts. No calls. No messages. Just a gap where trust used to be. I went looking. His mother answered the door. Her eyes swollen. He never came home, she whispered. 3 days now. I felt something cold twist in my chest. I knew this world too well. He hadn't disappeared. He'd been taken. Hina and I found his phone the next night. They'd tossed it in a trash bin outside the mosque. The screen was cracked, but the SIM card was intact. I slipped it into my own phone and accessed the messages. Most were wiped, except one thread. A location. A time. And a voice memo I played 3 times. In it, Zishan said something strange. He knows about the girl from Blackbird. He said he'll show the footage. Tell him I'm sorry. I didn't want this. I didn't know what they did. Static. And I closed my eyes. The past wasn't knocking anymore. It was inside now, moving the furniture. Hina looked pale. You okay? I asked. She didn't answer. She was staring at the screen, her face gone blank. What girl? She asked. I told her the truth. About the girl from Operation Blackbird. About the mission gone wrong. About how I'd let her go because I couldn't live with another ghost on my back. Hina sat in silence. Then she stood, walked to the balcony, and said nothing for a long time. Finally, she spoke. I think you should see something. She brought out an old photograph. Cracked. Faded. It was her. And the girl from Blackbird. Sister, she said. Half-sister. We were separated when we were young. I didn't know what happened to her. Until years later. When she came to find me. I stared at her. Why didn't you say anything? Because she disappeared. Again. 2 years ago. That word again. Disappeared. I knew better. She hadn't disappeared. She'd been erased. It was past midnight when I got the next message. A burner phone buzzed once. No name. Just a location. Abandoned textile mill. Come alone. You'll find your answers. I didn't hesitate. The place was silent, moonlight slicing through broken windows. Rusted machines whispered old stories. And in the center, a chair. Zishan. Tied. Bruised. Alive. I rushed forward, but then I heard the click. Too late. 5 figures stepped out from the shadows. Guns drawn. One of them, Rafik. I stared at him. You? He shrugged. Tarek offered me twice what you did. I laughed bitterly. I didn't offer you anything. Exactly, he said. Then another voice came from behind him. Tarek. Smooth suit. Polished smile. Politician's eyes. The kind that didn't blink when giving orders to kill. Well, he said. Look who came without a gun. I stood tall. I came for the boy. Tarek tilted his head. You came for closure. But here's the truth. We own closure now. We write the endings. He gestured. They brought someone else out. He tied. Bleeding. Gagged. Betrayal hit me harder than a bullet. My heart sank. What the hell is this? Tarek smirked. You thought she was helping you? She was tracking you. I turned to her. Tell me that's not true. Hina didn't meet my eyes. Tarek laughed. She did it for her sister. We told her we had her. That we'd spare her if she helped. And she believed us. I looked at her. Tears rolling down her face. I didn't know, she whispered. I didn't know they'd already. She choked. Tarek stepped forward. You're not a ghost. You're a man who ran from war and tried to grow a conscience. But men like us? We don't have souls left to save. He pointed the gun at me. Then, all hell broke loose. I moved before the shot. Disarmed the first guard. Caught his pistol mid-fall. Fired once. Rafik dropped. Zishan kicked his chair over. I rolled beside him and cut the ropes with a broken blade. Hina used her heel to shatter a bulb, glass everywhere, sparks flying. The chaos gave me 2 seconds. 2 was all I needed. 3 shots. 2 bodies fell. 1 ran. Tarek. I chased him through the factory, metal stairs, groaning pipes, echoing rage. He slipped. Fell. Crawled backwards. You're dead, he gasped. You're already dead. I aimed the gun. Paused. You're right, I said. Then I turned and walked away. Letting him live was worse than killing him. He'd wake up every day wondering when I'd return. And he'd never see it coming. A name is like a loaded weapon. Useless in the wrong hands. But in the right ones, it can start wars. I didn't want mine back. But they dragged it out of the dirt. Polished it. Mocked it. Now I would carve it into their walls, their fear, their blood. So the next time someone asked who I was, they wouldn't forget. After the factory ambush, we laid low. Zishan had a cracked rib. Hina's eye was swollen. I had a bullet graze across my shoulder. But we were alive. That night, as the storm rolled in outside, Hina finally showed me something she'd been hiding. A letter. Written by her sister, the girl from Operation Blackbird. The one I spared. Dated 2 years ago. Handwritten. Torn at the edges. I saw him again. The man from the fire. He saved me once. I don't think he knows I'm alive. I wish he did. Underneath, one sentence burned through the paper. If anything happens to me, find him. Tell him they're still watching. It wasn't just revenge anymore. This was unfinished business. Zisha insisted on going to the hospital alone. Said he didn't want to draw attention. I should have known better. He never made it there. They found his body in a riverbank 2 towns away. One clean shot to the back of the head. Execution style. His phone was missing. His wallet left untouched. It wasn't robbery. It was a message. They'd let him live long enough to lure me in. Then they erased him. I buried him myself. No prayers. No crowd. Just a boy who did the right thing in a world that punishes good. I carved his name into a stone with my knife. Not so I'd remember. So they would. 2 days later, the unexpected happened. A white car pulled up outside Hina's house. Black tinted windows. Civil plates. An old man stepped out, cane, suit, gray beard, and eyes like steel. His name was Colonel Iftikhar. He used to command shadows like me. You really stirred the hornet's nest, he said, lighting a cigarette. I was trying to stay buried. He looked at me. And now? Now I'm burning the coffin. He nodded. Tarek's not the head. He's a puppet. I stared. Then who? The colonel tossed a photo onto the table. A woman. Sharp features. Military uniform. Cold eyes. General Nafisa. Blackbird's architect. My stomach turned. She's alive? She never left. She's the one who ordered the girl's death. She's the one who started this. And now? She's running for office. That night, we watched her speech on TV. General Nafisa stood tall, smiling, waving at the cameras, promising a new era of safety and honor. She was wearing the same medal that had been awarded for Operation Blackbird. The same mission we were ordered to erase. The same mission where she tried to silence a girl for seeing what she shouldn't have. A girl I spared. A girl they killed later anyway. Now she was building a political empire on bones. And behind her, I spotted someone in the crowd. Tarek. Still alive. Still smiling. Still clapping. You're not going after them alone, Hina said. She handed me the black book from my old kit. I opened it for the first time in 10 years. Coordinates. Codes. Names. Weapons I'd buried in 6 different cities. Now I was digging them up. The next 2 weeks were chaos. Tarek's businesses started collapsing. Not because I killed anyone. Because I exposed them. I leaked photos. Documents. Audio recordings. I sent his partners running. He woke up one morning to find every bank account frozen. One by one, the pillars of his little kingdom fell. He tried to run. I let him. Let him see how it felt, powerless. Helpless. Then I left a note in his car. Just 2 words. She knows. Hina found an old abandoned communications post in the hills. It was one of my old hideouts, used only during Black Ops missions. We turned it into our base. I patched into security networks. Hina gathered political dirt. Colonel Iftikhar called in favors from old loyal contacts still buried in the system. Everything was aligning. But then something happened I didn't expect. I found her. The girl from Blackbird. Alive. She was working at a clinic. Under a fake name. Helping orphan children. She recognized me instantly. Her hands trembled when I stepped inside. You're real, she said. You're alive. You too. She looked away. I hid. After they came for me. I thought they'd find me again. They still might. I don't care. Not anymore. I sat beside her. She had scars on her wrists. Burns on her back. But her eyes were full of fire. I want to testify, she said. I want to burn her with the truth. I looked at her. You're sure? I've been quiet long enough. Truth is a weapon. But unlike bullets, it doesn't kill fast. It kills slowly, by eating through the lies people built entire empires upon. Amina's voice was the first crack in General Nafisa's fortress, and I was going to make sure her words reached the world, no matter what it cost me. We didn't go to the police. They were already bought. We didn't go to the courts. Too slow. Too fragile. We went to the one place no power could silence. Live media. Colonel Iftikhar made the call. A trusted journalist, someone who had been blacklisted for reporting military corruption, agreed to meet. We set up the safe house like a studio. Cameras. Mics. Backups. Amina sat in front of the lens. She was shaking. Then she spoke. My name is Amina. I was 14 during Operation Blackbird. I was labeled a civilian witness to national secrets. I was supposed to die. But one man let me go. I don't know why. Maybe he saw something worth saving. Maybe he was tired of being a tool. All I know is, I survived. And the people who ordered my death are now asking for your votes. When the video went live, it took 19 minutes to go viral. By midnight, over 3 million views. By dawn, Nafisa was denying everything. But it was too late. The world had heard her name, and mine, again. They came before sunset. Black SUVs. Silencers. Government tags. We were ready. Motion sensors. Tripwires. Underground exit tunnels. The first two were vaporized by a mine. The third tripped the perimeter alarm. I picked him off with one clean shot, center mass. Inside, Hina guided Amina through the escape route. Colonel Iftikhar covered the rear. But we weren't fast enough. They blew open the north wall. Concrete dust filled the air. One soldier got a shot off. I felt the heat tear through my thigh. But I didn't stop. We regrouped at the secondary safe house. Amina was safe. I was bleeding. Hina was quiet. Too quiet. Colonel Iftikhar stood at the window, arms crossed. Then, his phone rang. He picked up. Didn't speak. Just listened. His expression changed. He slowly turned to us. They found us. Again. I limped toward him. Someone's feeding them locations. He nodded once. Then stared at me. I think. It's me. Silence. He sighed. They cracked my old frequency. They're ghost tracking every ping. I was trying to be careful. But they're 10 steps ahead now. I stared at him. You just got us all killed. There was only one option left. A base called Black Wall, an old NATO installation buried under a mountain range. Off-grid. Invisible. Only accessible through a tunnel system I helped build years ago. We had to reach it by foot. Too dangerous. Too far. But we had no choice. Amina's testimony had sparked something. A few officers began leaking more files. Journalists began connecting dots. Nafisa's press team was spinning out of control. She needed to silence Amina now, before things fell apart. And we were the only ones standing in the way. We left that night. Amina. Hina. Me. The colonel. I left everything else behind. Phones. Weapons. Names. Just 4 ghosts climbing through the dark. 3 hours in, I collapsed. My leg was on fire. Colonel Iftikhar carried me half the trail. Hina led. Never looked back. Amina didn't say a word the entire way. But her hand never left mine. They found us just before we reached the cave mouth. A drone. Silent. Watching. Waiting. I lifted my arm. Shot it down. But the signal was sent. Run! I screamed. They came in fast, choppers overhead, soldiers rappelling down like shadows from the sky. We made it into the tunnels by seconds. The entrance exploded behind us. The mountain roared. Inside, the silence was worse. Just echoes. Dust. and the knowledge that we were now officially dead in every database, every list. No turning back. Inside Black Wall, systems were still alive. Emergency power. Surveillance. Enough to get a message out. Hina helped patch me up. Amina went to the mic. Colonel Iftikhar turned to me and said, "This is it." I nodded. We went live again. This time, not just a confession. Evidence. Documents. Logs. Orders signed by Nafisa herself. Operation Blackbird. Civilian kills. Disappearances. Payoffs. And proof that the current candidate for national office was a war criminal. The file was sent to 28 different newsrooms across the world. The truth couldn't be buried now. But neither could we. Some wars are fought in the dark. Some wars are fought in the light. But the deadliest ones are fought in between, where truth and lies bleed into each other, and every bullet fired sounds like silence. The files we released hit like a bomb. Within 3 hours, 3 national news outlets broke the story. Within 8, global media caught on. Operation Blackbird. Child civilian casualties. Cover-ups. General Nafisa's name was no longer printed in gold. It was inked in blood. Protests erupted in the capital. Her press secretary resigned on live television. The president's office issued a statement of concern. But Nafisa? She doubled down. In a 5-minute televised speech, she called the leaks terrorist propaganda. Then she issued Martial Law Emergency Order 17A, a nationwide lockdown. But we weren't done. Not even close. She put a price on our heads. Not just mine. Not just Amina's. All 4 of us. 10 million rupees, dead or alive. The streets turned. Bounty hunters. Mercs. Even some ex-military ghosts I used to call brothers. And somehow, we still had no idea where she was. She vanished from cameras. From signals. From the grid. But then, I found her. Or rather, she let me. I received a file. Encrypted. Old code. One only she and I knew. From another life. Inside a video. Nafisa. No uniform. No makeup. Just cold rage in her eyes. You should have let her die. That girl was a flicker. And you gave her fire. Now look what you've burned. But you always were soft. Always carried the weight of the ones we didn't save. The difference is, I never had to pretend I cared. She paused. You want to finish? Fine. Come to the place it started. Alone. Coordinates attached. Blackbird base. We gathered in the war room. I looked at them. Hina, Amina, Colonel Iftikhar. I'd go alone, I said. No, Hina replied immediately. You heard what she said. I don't care. You're not dying on your knees in that grave of a base. Colonel Iftikhar agreed. She's drawing you in. But she doesn't know we've been mapping the base for weeks. He limped over to the table. Unfolded an old tactical map. She's not alone, he said. But neither are we. I nodded. Then Amina spoke. Softly. I'll be the bait. The plan was insane. But then again, so was the war. We leaked a message, claiming Amina would deliver a live testimony at a protest in the capital. While every camera and hired gun scrambled to the city, we went the other way. Through rivers. Rail tracks. Underground paths mapped by smugglers. Until finally, we stood before the old Blackbird base. Rust. Barbed wire. Silence. Everything smelled like death. We split up. Iftikhar stayed behind to control the comms. Hina and I moved in first. 5 guards. All armed. Former special forces. Loyal to Nafisa. We took out 2 quietly. Then everything went loud. Alarms. Lights. Gunfire. Hina moved like wind, clearing rooms like she was born for it. We made it to the central core, a steel chamber where Nafisa waited. She stood there, gun in hand, unshaken. And she had someone with her. Zishan. Alive. Barely. Chained. Bloodied. You didn't think I'd leave him behind, did you? She whispered. Hina stepped forward. Gun raised. Nafisa turned to her. You were always the soft link. You really think this man would die for you? I looked at Hina. I already did once. Then the ceiling above exploded. They had triggered the self-destruct failsafe. The walls began to quake. We had 3 minutes. We got Zishan free. I pushed him toward the exit. But the way out was blocked. Then Hina did something I didn't see coming. She handed me her pistol. You get them out. No, I said. Don't you dare. Someone has to hold the line, she said, smiling with tears. And I don't want to live in a world where she wins. She kissed me. Hard. Brief. Then ran back into the hall and locked the blast door. I screamed her name until my voice cracked. Behind the steel, I heard gunfire. Then silence. Then fire. We escaped through a flooded tunnel. When we emerged into daylight, the Blackbird base was gone. Reduced to smoke, dust, and shattered history. Nafisa's body was never found. But we know she died there. Her empire collapsed in hours. Mass arrests. Frozen assets. Public hearings. Colonel Iftikhar disappeared the next day. Zishan testified in court. And Amina? Amina became a symbol. Weeks later, a letter arrived for me. No name. No return address. Just 2 sentences. You were never a weapon. You were always the hand that refused to pull the trigger. And that's why we still remember your name. I folded it. Burned it. Then made myself a cup of tea. Alone. In silence. Because in the end, that's all I ever asked for.